Thank you for your introduction. I am Yoshihiro Banchi from Waseda University, and I will be presenting on this topic today. The sublime is a traditional aesthetic category that describes a human emotional response when encountering immense, terrifying, or ambiguous phenomena. Sublime experiences are believed to foster psychological, emotional, and cognitive growth, ultimately enhancing overall well-being. There has been much discussion on the conditions necessary to evoke such experiences, with many suggesting that an overwhelming subject or natural phenomenon is essential. Sublime experiences arise when individuals confront vast, powerful, and complex natural phenomena, evoking a sense of boundlessness that can be overwhelming. The perception of sublimity in visual arts and natural phenomena has been widely studied in the field of aesthetics and psychology. Ishizu categorized nature photographs into sublime and non-sublime images. And analyzed brain activity using fMRI, finding specific brain regions activated by sublime experiences, and demonstrating that such experiences are associated with measurable neural changes. Similarly, here investigated how presentation methods influence perception of sublimity and beauty. Their study found that larger display sizes and higher positioning enhances a perception of sublimity and beauty, highlighting the role of presentation conditions. Previous studies have primarily focused on 2D images, with relatively few exploring immersive displays like VR. Given its high level of immersion, VR is expected to effectively create the overwhelming presence necessary for sublime experiences. This study aims to investigate how different visual conditions in VR environments influence the perception of sublimity. Specifically, we focus on the effects of field of view and stereoscopic representation on the experience of sublimity. The experimental stimuli used in this study were created using Unity and HDRP, high-definition render pipeline. The video consists of a silent 360 scene with a total duration of 65 seconds, including a 10-second gaze calibration phase, followed by 55 seconds of experimental content. To design content intended to evoke sublime experiences, we incorporated elements identified in previous literature as contributing to sublimity. Mountains evoke sublime emotions due to their immensity, ruggedness, and overwhelming power. In particular, the threatening aspects of mountains are thought to be closely linked to sublime expression. Clouds and fog create mystery and infinity by obscuring visibility. When mountain peaks are hidden by fog, they merge with the sky, enhancing the feeling of boundlessness. Water bodies like seas and lakes represent dual aspects of the sublime. A calm sea evokes awe through its vastness, while a stormy sea induce fear through its low power. Both states are capable of eliciting sublime emotions. Light contributes to sublimity by obscuring shapes and covering boundlessness and invisibility. When forms become indistinct due to light, they create a sense of boundlessness and obscurity. To enhance this effect, we introduced a sunrise behind the mountains around the 30-second mark, casting radiant backlighting. Subjective measures included a 5-point rating scale questionnaire and a post-experiment structured interview. The questionnaire included items on beauty, pleasantness, sense of scale, and sublimity, which were based on prior research. In the post-experiment interview, participants were asked about each of these aspects in sequence. Objective measures included eye movement, head movement, cerebral blood flow, and heart rate. The video stimuli were presented using the Vive Pro eye headset, which is capable of capturing gaze data. Additionally, to measure cerebral blood flow and heart rate, participants wore an F-News device on their head. Participants were seated on a rotating chair while observing the stimuli. The experimental conditions included variation in the field of view and the stereoscopic representation. The field of view was set to wide 110 degrees and narrow 30 degrees, while stereoscopic viewing was set to 3D and 2D, resulting in a total of 4 conditions. The participants were 20 university students. First, they provided informed consent and received an explanation of the definition of sublimity and the experimental procedure. To ensure that participants would not miss the key element of sublime scene, we explained that mountains and sunlight would be featured in the stimulus. After the explanation, participants wore the experimental equipment and gaze calibration was performed. Following this, they were free to observe the experimental stimuli. Once the observation was completed, participants removed the headset and filled out the questionnaire. Stimuli was randomized, and after all conditions were completed, a structured interview was conducted. First, the results related to subjective measures of beauty are presented. The figure shows the mean scores and the standard errors for beauty. On the left side are the results for the wide FOV condition, and on the right are those for the narrow FOV condition. The orange bars represent the 3D condition, while the blue bars represent the 2D condition. From the graph, it appears the wide FOV condition yielded higher beauty scores compared to the narrow FOV condition, and 3D condition showed higher scores than the 2D condition. A two-way ANOVA with field of view and stereoscopy as factors reveals significant main effects of both field of view and stereoscopy. Next, the results related to sublimity are presented. The wide FOV yielded higher sublimity score than the narrow FOV, with the 3D showing slightly higher score than the 2D. A two-way ANOVA revealed a significant main effect of field of view. Similar trends were observed for presentness, and sense of scale. Here are the results for the eye tracking data, which is an objective measure. The left graph shows the number of gaze fixations, while the right graph presents the average gaze fixation duration with standard error. In the graphs for the number of gaze fixations, it appears that the wide FOV results in fewer fixations than the narrow FOV, and the 3D results in fewer fixations than the 2D. Conversely, gaze fixation duration exhibited an inverse trend compared to the number of fixations. A two-way ANOVA revealed significant main effects for both field of view and stereoscopy, and a significant interaction effect for gaze fixation duration. Post-hoc tests revealed that the 3D and wide FOV condition has the longest gaze fixation duration. Next, we present the result for head movement. The figure shows the average and standard error of the horizontal angular velocity of the head. The graph shows that the 3D and wide FOV condition exhibited slower angular velocity. A two-way ANOVA revealed a main effect of stereoscopy and a significant interaction effect. Post-hoc tests revealed that the 3D and wide FOV condition exhibited slower angular velocity. Next, we present the result for the changes in cerebral blood flow from the baseline. The graph indicated that the wide FOV showed a greater negative changes in cerebral blood flow compared to the narrow FOV, with the 2D and wide FOV condition being particularly lower. A two-way ANOVA revealed a significant main effect of field of view. Subjective evaluations showed that a wider field of view resulted in higher rating for beauty, presentness, scale, and sublimity. Stereoscopy also led to higher rating for beauty. These findings suggest that a wider field of view significantly enhances elements contributing to a sublime experience. Moreover, stereoscopy enhances beauty ratings, suggesting a positive effect on sublime experiences in landscapes. Objective evaluations revealed that the number of fixation was lower in the 3D and wider field of view conditions. Conversely, fixation duration was longer in both the 3D and wider field of view condition. Furthermore, fixation duration was especially prolonged in the 3D and wider field of view condition. Regarding the head movement, the angular velocity was slower in the 3D and wider field of view condition. These findings suggest that the 3D and wider field of view leads to more stable gaze, implying calmer observation of the visual stimuli. This stability could enhance the emotional experiences, particularly in sublime experience involved complex emotions. These results align with the subjective evaluations and indicated that the 3D and wider field of view were particularly effective in enhancing the sublime experience. This study examined how the field of view and stereoscopy affect sublime experiences in VR. Key findings include a wider field of view enhances the experience experience of the sublime and other emotions. In 3D, rating of beauty were higher compared to 2D. In the 3D and wider field of view, calmer gaze movement were observed, and subjective rating of the sublime experience were more positive. This study provides a quantitative evaluation of sublime experiences using VR, demonstrating the effectiveness of VR in presenting the sublime experience. However, with regard to physiological indicators, their relationship to the sublime requires further investigations. The exploration of physiological indicators related to the sublime will be an important consideration in future VR content design. Thank you for your kind attention.